So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. What if Naruto had the ability to manipulate lava and ice? Movie. Faster, I have to be faster, I can't let myself be tortured again. Come on, I need to be faster. He mentally shouted as the lightning in his eyes sparked with more intensity. The ground beneath him froze before he took off in a blur. "Get back here, demon," shouted a woman in her early 30s. "Kill the demon, make sure it gets its punishment," yelled a scared Chunin that looked to be in his early 20s. "Avenge the Yondaime Hokage." A woman with red eyes and two tomios in each eye shouted. "Stop the demon," shouted a male Chunin with pale eyes to a group of people just ahead of where he was running. "Catch him," shouted a female Chunin with two red fang marks on her cheeks from the back of a mob. "Come on," he went left, shouted a gray-haired old man as the demon slipped temporarily out of view. Those watching the scene could only shake their heads in sympathy and kept moving. While few held any sympathy for the person being chased, no one liked to see a child being abused even if he deserved it. This child was none other than Naruto Uzumaki, better known to those over the age of 10 as the Kikbi brat or just plain Kikbi to the more ignorant populace of Konoha. He had a unique color of hair, bright red that faded into bright yellow to some people. The hair would look beautiful like untamed fire that seemed to enhance his beautiful cerulean blue eyes. As much as they wanted to help the young fiery-haired boy, they never once did anything besides watch as he was abused. They always told themselves that today was the day that they'd stand up for him, but when it came down to it, they never lifted a finger. Today would turn to tomorrow, and tomorrow would turn into a week. They felt bad for the poor 6-year-old boy. No one should ever feel hated or unloved, but they just couldn't bring themselves to help the poor child. Naruto was doing his best to run from the crazed mob. It was his 6th birthday today and he felt like celebrating because the old man told him he could attend the academy soon. Naruto was beyond happy as he always wanted to become a ninja like his hero, the Yondaime Hokage, and his Jiji. He came out to the festival thinking today was a good day, and despite warnings against going outside by the old man, he was having a fun day today. He was playing games and eating food without being overcharged. He was truly happy for once in his life. He was able to buy some clothes that weren't torn or worn out. He was even able to buy some books and scrolls on hunting, chakra control, even some taijutsu. One of the vendors from outside the village even gave him a hunting knife since he looked eager to learn. The man even gave him a book on basic sealing, saying that it would help him in the future. Naruto hadn't won anything at the game stalls, but he simply enjoyed being able to play the games and be among the other citizens of Konoha. He felt normal for once, and he was happy. He even got to try some good food from foreign lands, not that any of it compared to the wonder that was ramen. It was still light out when the trouble started. Everything was going good, everything seemed normal, maybe they were finally accepting him and they'd finally apologize for treating him badly. He felt himself being pushed into a dark alley where he heard something coming. Narrowly dodging the projectile, he felt warm liquid running down his cheek. Looking up, he saw a man glaring at him with hatred. "I'm going to enjoy killing you, demon." The man snarled at him, making Naruto flinch in fear. Whether it was luck or pure coincidence, a firework went off, giving him the chance to make an escape. Naruto quickly turned and ran, being much faster than any of the civilians. It was easy to stay ahead of them. The problem came when a few ninja decided to join in the chase and help capture the boy. They wouldn't join in torturing Naruto, as the punishment to previous shinobi who did was quite severe when found out. They would simply help in his capture and let the civilians do the dirty work, as the council would be able to step in and pardon them, and there was little the old Hokage could do about it, unlike with the shinobi. So here Naruto was once again running for his life. He didn't understand why this happened to him, or why he couldn't play with children his own age, or why it was hard for him to purchase things for a fair price if at all, but Naruto still loved his village and wanted to be a hero one day. Naruto hid underneath a cart of one of the visiting festival goers, listening as the sounds of the mob grew closer and closer, and were finally upon his location. Sparks of lightning could be seen flashing through his eyes. Even though the temperature was warm outside when Naruto gripped the cart, a small patch of frost started forming without his knowledge. It wasn't until he heard nothing that he decided to crawl out from underneath the cart and thanked Kami and any god that was listening to him for being safe. Naruto looked around and realizing where he was started his long trek home. He made it halfway down the block when he was pushed down. A sandaled foot came crashing down on his back. Naruto lifted his head and tried to look behind him at the man that had his foot on his back. "Why are you doing this to me? I never did anything to you," Naruto asked with fear in his voice. He just wanted to be accepted in life. Was that much to ask for? A small amount of acceptance is what he wished he could have in life. "You killed my wife and our unborn pup, you demon, now I'll never see them again. I'm going to make sure you suffer for what you've done to us all." The man snarled in anger. Head would never see his pup grow up and become a shinobi. Head never hear his wife's laugh ever again. Naruto was struggling to get up from his position and escape. He knew he was no match for the man keeping him down, but he needed to find something, anything, and that's when he saw it. The Chunin had just finished signaling his ninkin when suddenly a sharp pain erupted from his leg. I need to do something. He thought to himself as he tried pushing the ninkin off of him. For some unknown reason an icicle started forming in his hand before stabbing it down in the ninkin's skull, killing it instantly. Kato. The Inyazuka man yelled out while watching his partner being killed by the young boy. How was he going to explain this to Tsum? She told her clan to stay away from the boy, never once did she lay a finger to help him, but never cared to know anything about him either. Lightning started sparking in Naruto's eyes as he took off faster than before, weaving in and out of the citizens and shinobi. All it looked like was a fiery blur. He couldn't keep control of his speed, or this power. People were slipping for some reason. As they looked down all they saw was ice. He was able to stop, but not before hitting a cave wall face first. He didn't know where he was, but the cave seemed peaceful. The sound of a running waterfall caught his interest, but the beauty of the cave captivated him. The cave was huge, about the same size as the Uchiha compound. He noticed a small house about the 2 or 3 times bigger than his apartment. Fresh fruits and vegetables could be seen growing and thriving. He saw fishes swimming to the beautiful lake. For once in his life he felt at peace. Nothing else mattered, not the village and not his birthday. Walking up to the waterfall, he reached out and touched the water and noticed it was warm. It wasn't hot, but it was perfect if he ever wanted to shower. He looked at the lake and noticed some different type of fish, but the most occurring ones were catfish and salmon. He continued to explore the cave and found a natural hot spring. He was happy that he found this place. Maybe he could live here and attended the academy. No one would ever bother him again if they didn't know where he lived. Unknowingly he stumbled upon a cave that Madara Uchiha once built himself to escape the pressure of his clan and his clan's darkness. He made this cave as an escape for the life of a shinobi, one where no one would ever find. It was his last piece of happiness until he was betrayed by his own clan, betrayed by the very people who he fought side by side with. Naruto smiles as he walked towards the 2-story house and gently pushed the door open. He was happy to know the door was unlocked. When he walked inside he noticed the dust and knew he had his work cut out for himself for cleaning. Yes, this would do, this would be his own personal heaven. Walking up to a table he noticed a scroll and decided to read it. To whom it may concern. My name is Madara Uchiha. I am one of the founding members of Konohagakure no Seido. I built this cave and sanctuary out of respect for my younger brother Izuna. We always talked about finding a place to just be ourselves, a place where we wouldn't be warriors or killers, a place where we could have some form of peace. Sadly, my brother never had the chance to experience such peace before he was ultimately killed. I know my clan is planning to have me banished, since the only one who can rival me in power is the Shodaime Hokage Hashirama Senju. I have left scrolls from jutsus I have created, learned and stolen. Weapons that I have mastered and books about theories. If you wish to become stronger, please do so, but I do ask of one thing: should you stumble upon this place, please take care of the sanctuary. This is the last place where I ever felt true peace, a place where I could ignore my role as a ninja. I leave you the deed to this cave and everything in it. Add chakra to the seal on the bottom of the scroll and sign your name. Once again, please take care of the little piece I have left. Signed, Madara Uchiha. 6 years later, the blonde-haired kid could be seen sitting in the back of the classroom, his eye gently but tightly wrapped around his right bicep. A pure white katana was strapped to his back, his black shirt clung tightly to his chest, and his navy blue anbu pants were tapped off at his right thigh. He couldn't help but look out the window, bored as he remembered the past 6 years of his life since he first found Madara's cave. During those 6 years Naruto mastered the tree and water walking, as well as a few other jutsus that he could use safely. It wasn't until his 5th year in the academy when Naruto learned the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Taj Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Bunshin Daibakuha and the Shunshin no Jutsu. He loved the clones and the Shunshin. They made everyday life so much easier. He would use the clones to help him cook, clean, and train. He was glad for Madara's notes about the clones. Since he got the memories from them, he was able to use them for his Genjutsu, chakra control, Taijutsu and Ninjutsu. He learned about the last one the hard way. He learned that the hard way. It happened about a week after he learned to use the clones, when he was going through hand seals for the Kase no Yaiba. Wind soared and he had cut his arm up badly. That's when he started using the clones to work on the jutsus to make sure they perfected them. During his time in the cave he read about Madara's adventures and loved them and wanted to be like him, a shinobi so powerful with almost no equal. That's what he wanted, to be a shinobi with no equal. He thought back his time so far in the academy was bad. They didn't kick him out or yell at him. No, the teachers just ignored him like he didn't exist. During those 6 years he realized something: maybe not having any attention on him wasn't so bad. Hell, after his chase the Hokage practically forgot all about him, not once checking up on him or anything. He had even stopped calling him Jiji and instead called him Hokage-sama. It also helped that when he did get kicked out of class he'd just leave a clone behind while he went off and trained in different forms of Taijutsu, Kenjutsu, and Ninjutsu. He tried making friends with his classmates, but they just ignored him and pretended that he didn't exist, so he gave up after the first month of the academy. He decided that it'd be better if he didn't have any friends, since they all stayed away from him like he was the plague. It gave him more time to train. During his training he didn't know why, but he felt like he needed to learn more about these seals. It was like they spoke to him when he made them. He was happy that Madara had scrolls and books on seals, since it helped him improve. Right now he was easily a Level 6 seal master. He knew that seals were only limited to one's imagination and was able to recreate the restriction seals and placed them all over his body, on his arms, chest, abs, and legs. He even made sure to put weighted seals on all of his clothes to not only build up speed, but power too. He had mastered a few justice like the K's no Yaiba, Suiton, Suriken no Jutsu and the Raiten. John. Naruto was learning on how to use one-handed seals, he learned, but only were they harder, but it helped especially in a fight defend while using one hand and the other he could attack with. He learned about his Kekkei Genkai thanks to books. He learned he had not one but two Kekkei Genkais, Heimten and Jinten. He was shocked when he found that out but knew that he needed to train himself, and since he didn't know anyone else he practiced his Jinten and Heimten the same. He was able to use Jinten for 10 minutes so far before he felt the strains on his muscles and had to stop. For Heimten he was only able to make an updated version of Kira's famed Kurigakur no Jutsu, in which he made it where eyes started to form around his opponents. He knew it wasn't enough, but that didn't deter him from learning or trying to create his own original jutsus. Thinking about his other skills made him think about his taijutsu. It was suffering since he never had anyone to practice with besides his clones, and even then they'd dispel after one hit. He had actually found two styles he liked, one for regular use and one for use with his bloodline when he practiced with it in secret. The first was cheetah fighting style. It relied on speed and outsmarting his opponents. It utilized hit and run tactics, and Naruto figured if he could combine it with his Heimten and Kenjutsu, it would make him a fearsome opponent, especially when used his second bloodline. It was a style that had very few masters, but it said once you mastered this style, that not only will he be able to use his opponent's weakness against them, but he'd be too fast for them to hit. The other style he chose was Capoeira. It was fun to learn, and he loved the constant movement the style required. It was a style based around deception and evasion, two things he was known for. This would be the style he used against a singular opponent or when stealth wasn't an option. Naruto wasn't actually sure how practical the style was for a ninja, but that didn't matter and he could always change it around later. He would be able to mess with his opponent's head and make them frustrated where they'd tend to make mistakes, and a mistake in a fight was meant to be taken advantage of. Ninjutsu was something Naruto fell in love with. He had found a katana that belonged to Madara's brother Izuna. It was a beautiful snow-white katana. From the hilt to the tip of the blade it was white. If he dropped it in the snow he knew it'd be lost forever. It was lighter than a feather, and when he used it, it was like watching a skilled dancer. He would often switch dance and was learning a style that was said to have no masters. The only area Naruto had trouble with was Jinjutsu. It wasn't that he didn't find Jinjutsu interesting or anything, it's just that it was extremely hard for him to do even the basic academy Jinjutsu. He did find one that he really wanted to learn, Kakuanjo no Jutsu, a Jinjutsu that negated all of your senses, including Dijutsu. The sounds of other kids running in and yelling and shouting brought Naruto out of his stupor. It looked like his peace and quiet was all but over. Now all he had to do was wait for his name to be called and he could finally start taking missions. The next morning the Hokage was talking to the Junins about their teams to see who passed and failed. He looked up at his son first and had him proceed when they saw a silver-haired man walk in with an eye smile. I didn't really see the need to test my team Hokage-sama, so I passed them and spent the time getting to know them and finding out about their skills, Asuma says, then sits down. I was unable to test my team Hokage-sama. The sealing process took a lot out of Yakumo, and I thank you for forcing Jiraiya to take care of Yakumo's problem. He'll be able to test them tomorrow, but I know they'll pass. Kurenai said while the Hokage nodded. Team 7 passed Hokage-sama. They're a little rough around the edges, but nothing that I won't be able to fix. With Kiba's personality he'll be able to keep both of his teammates on their toes. Kakashi said, making everyone sweat drop. Team 1 failed. I gave the standard team test. I recommend that they return to the academy, said a brown-haired Junin with green eyes. Team 2 failed. I also gave the standard team test. I recommend that they become civilians, said a Kunoichi with dark brown hair and black eyes. Team 3 failed. I gave my team a tracking test. I recommend that they also become civilians, says a Junin with dark blue hair and the whites of the Haikta. Team 4 passed, says a man with dull black hair tied back in a ponytail and green eyes. Everyone turned to the man with an incredulous stare. It wasn't unprecedented, but in times of peace it was unusual for more than 3 teams to pass. Of course there were ways around this and some villages just outright ignored it, but generally 3 would officially pass and the others would be sent back to the academy, become civilians, or those that showed promise would be put in the reserves to form a team later. Please tell us who your genin are, the manner of testing, and how they managed to pass Fukazi-san. The Hokage said while looking at the man. If he didn't like the answer to the last 2 questions he would fail the team, but they would be put into the reserves. My name is Yuzaki Ryo, my genin team consists of Shira Kanto, her sister Kyra Kanto and lastly Uzumaki Naruto. When I first observed them I was able to see how they interacted which was fine, since none of them really seemed to have any problem with each other. I then tested their skills which were good enough for graduating genin, but the one who stood out the most was Naruto. Hess incredibly skilled in Kenjutsu but Hess also a natural-born leader, he was able to command of the situation and direct his teammates in a quick and stealthy kill of Maimizu Bunshin. The test I have them was a seek and destroy mission where they had to find Maimizu Bunshin I had hiding around in the training ground and defeat it. They managed to accomplish the task just under the time limit, Ryo said, while looking happy. The Hokage looked at him and nodded his head, he was shocked to hear that Naruto was skilled and a natural leader. The last time he saw him was 6 years ago, and never once did he ever go out of his way to talk to him, he didn't even know if he had any friends. He'd have to ask Iruka about if Naruto had made any bonds while he was in the academy. There's one more thing I'd like to add. Ryo said while looking at the Hokage, everyone raised an eyebrow while looking at him. What would you like to add, Ryo? The old Hokage asked. Naruto has 2 bloodlines. He said while shocking everyone, to have 2 bloodlines was incredibly rare. Are you serious? Hiruzen said in a serious tone, he never would thought Naruto would ever have a bloodline, but Hess being told that he has 2. Yes, I watched as he used them, he made himself as a distraction while his teammates killed my clone. Ryo responded, do you know what they are? Asuma asked while picking his cigarette up from the ground. Now he was thinking he should have asked for Naruto if this was true, to have a student with 2 bloodlines would been perfect. Haimton and Jinten. Ryo said while looking at Asuma. You mean to tell me that he has 2 bloodlines, that should be impossible. Are you sure you saw him use 2 bloodlines? Kurenai practically shouted out. She knew who the blonde was but for the past 6 years it seemed like he just dropped from the face of the world. Yes, I'm positive, it seems like he has good control over his Jinten, but for his Haimton Hess only able to use an upgraded version of the Kurigaku no Jutsu, where it freezes you. It's not noticeable, but you could feel the coldness and it was causing my clone to slow down. He finished while looking at Kurenai who looked shocked. Mia, get me Uzumaki Naruto now please. The Hokage said through the intercom. We will have Naruto show us his bloodlines, and if what you're saying is true, then this will be a lot harder to deal with. A few minutes passed by and they watched as a blonde-haired boy walk in with blank face. They all took in his new clothings, he was wearing a navy blue shirt and a long black sleeve shirt under, his plantambu-style pants were tucked into his black steel-toed boots. What had caught all of their attentions was the beautiful snow-white katana strapped to his back. Hello, Ryo-sensei. Naruto greeted his sensei before looking at the Hokage, you asked for me Hokage-sama. Last I'm on lava and ice. Mia, get me Uzumaki Naruto now please. The Hokage said through the intercom. We will have Naruto show us his bloodlines, and if what you're saying is true, then this will be a lot harder to deal with. A few minutes passed by and they watched as a blonde-haired boy walk in with blank face. They all took in his new clothing, he was wearing a navy blue shirt and a long black sleeve shirt under, his plantambu-style pants were tucked into his black steel-toed boots. What had caught all of their attention was the beautiful snow-white katana strapped to his back. Hello, Ryo-sensei, Naruto greeted his sensei before looking at the Hokage, you asked for me Hokage-sama. Hiruzen looked at Naruto and noticed his once fiery hair was gone, it's what helped him stand out, it's what made Naruto well Naruto in his eyes. He was looking at the blank face of the blonde kid in front of him, how many times did he forget about him, how many times did Naruto need someone in his life, only for him to never receive that treatment. Hello Naruto, how are you? Ryo asked his student, he knew about Naruto using the henge on his hair, since it made him stand out the most. How about you drop the henge Naruto, since it looks like you're confusing everyone. Ryo chuckled as Naruto muttered something about stupid senseis being able to see past his triple-layered henge. They watched as he dropped his henge revealing his beautiful untamed fiery hair for everyone to see. Just like fire, his hair was truly a sight to behold, his eyes shone the brightest as some of the girls blushed but shook their heads. This was the brat in their eyes, he wasn't or couldn't be attractive to them, nor will he ever be attractive to anyone. The R triple-A layered henge how? Kurenai shouted while gripping Naruto's shoulders with a questioning look in her eyes. She always wanted to learn how to do a triple-layered henge, but never knew how, hell even using double-layered henge was extremely hard to use. But this kid was able to use a triple-layered henge, like it was nothing she had to learn, maybe she should have requested him to be on her team. I'd appreciate it if you'd let go of me, I don't like being touched by anyone I don't consider a friend, last I checked you're not a Tucci. So I'd appreciate it if you'd stop touching me. Naruto asked in a polite tone with a hint anger, that's the one thing he hated the most. People touching him like they were friends when they weren't, the only people he considered his friends were Am and Tucci, they taught him how to cook, along with reading and writing to him they were his family. Oh I apologize Naruto-san, I didn't mean to offend you. Kurenai said awkwardly while looking at him. She sent a small glare to Ryo, saying to keep his genin in line and to respect his superiors. Naruto-kun forgive me for asking, but you just said that you only considered Am and Tucci your friends. What about your classmates or your teachers, weren't they not your friends? I means building bonds with your classmates is extremely important, having those bonds help you in the long run to pass down the will of fire. Hiruzen asked while also giving him a lecture. I tried making friends during my first month in the academy, but everyone seemed to avoid me like the plague. The teachers would just ignore me or lock me out of class. So I stopped trying to make friends, Shira, Kyra and I only work professionally with each other. We don't consider each other friends, but we consider each other as colleagues, nothing more and nothing less, but you called me here to talk about something important, Hokage-sama. Naruto asked him in a using only a professional tone. He didn't care anymore what people thought of him, and if they continued to judge him he'd just ignore it. Ah yes, you see, it's come to my attention that you now have 2 bloodlines, I sent swift release if I was told correctly. I was wondering if you'd give us a demonstration of your bloodlines, that we can mark down that you have 2 rare bloodlines which can help strengthen the village. Hiruzen asked while looking at the fiery-haired kid who he considers a grandson, since he finally remembered him again. He couldn't tell Naruto that since he had 2 bloodlines that he could technically apply to have clan status as well as having his own compound, since he feared it would make Naruto more powerful, not knowing where his alliance stood scared the old Hokage. I apologize Hokage-sama, but I must decline, not in any of the laws in the village states that I have to demonstrate my bloodline or bloodlines to you or anyone. You also can't force me either, since if you did I could just resign as a shinobi of the village and become a civilian, in which I could leave the village. You nor anyone else here would be able to stop me since it'd be considered a civilian, you don't have a say in the life of a civilian. If that's all you need me for then I should get going since I was in the middle of training. He replied with a small bow as he turned around getting ready to leave, shocking everyone. Naruto-kun, what are you talking about? Of course you have to show me your bloodline, since I'm the Hokage you have to respect my word, which is the law. Hiruzen stated, getting annoyed with how he was acting like a spoiled brat in his opinion. Actually I don't have to, a shinobi is allowed to refuse to display his or her bloodline if she feels like it would reveal clan secrets. Since I have 2 bloodlines I can register to build my own clan compound, so in hindsight, I can refuse your orders. You should really thank Madara Uchiha for this law, I mean I'm glad he came up with it since he was a genius. Naruto stated, shocking everyone, how could he say that madman was a genius? I'm entitled to my secrets, if my secrets aren't directly harming Konoha in terms of financial, economical, or if I'm not handing out village secrets, then I don't have to show you anything Hokage-sama. You should really thank the teachers for ignoring me along with kicking me out of class, reading the laws on the village has actually become something that was fun. Naruto finished as he bowed before walking out of the Hokage office. See, can he really do that? Kakashi asked, shocked while looking at his sensei's son. He failed his deceased sensei, along with his sensei's wife. He was supposed to be Naruto's big brother figure, but yet he failed because he wanted to honor Obito. Now here was Naruto, a young boy with basically 0 bonds, with nothing really keeping him in the village. Sensei, Kushina, I'm so sorry for failing you both. Kakashi thought to himself. He knew apologizing did nothing to help him or make things better in life, no, he just failed his own little brother figure because he was too lazy to lift a finger. Well, your student is full of emotions and spunk, isn't he, Ryo? Asuma said while chuckling and taking a drag of his cigarette. He really wanted to see how strong the Gaki was. He knew about ice release since it involved wind and water, but Swift was new to them all, they never heard of it, so to them it was unknown. 2 months passed by since the incident at the Hokage office. During those 2 months, true to his word, Shira and Kyra didn't view Naruto as a friend, but nothing more as a colleague, they even used that word loosely. They had completed 20 D rank missions along with 4 C rank missions. While in the middle of their training and Anbu had told them that they've been called to the Hokage's office for another mission, Naruto looked up at the sky with boredom written on his face. Hey sensei, can we spar into jutsu and kinjutsu again? Naruto asked while looking at his sensei out of the corner of his eye. Sure, I don't see why not, once we figure out the mission we have we can make a training schedule, your taijutsu is coming along quite well. I've been noticing that your ice release is coming along nicely, to be able to make kunai, shuriken, even senbon needles is a huge improvement. I know it may not seem like it, but you're slowly improving with your bloodlines, don't feel too bad you don't know anyone else with your bloodlines like yours. Ryo said while giving Naruto a proud smile. They finally arrived at the Hokage's office and Herd walked in. They saw a young woman who looked to be around 16. She had long auburn hair that reached her lower back, which looked tied up in a royal top knot, a bang that covered her left eye, revealing one green eye. She wore a blue battle dress that seemed to stop at her shoulders, exposing her mesh armor shirt, along with some exposed cleavage. What he also noticed that caught his attention was the bottom of her dress was cut off, exposing her black shorts with her mesh armor underneath her shorts that seemed to stop at her ankles. Her nails along with her toes were painted blue that seemed to match the blue lipstick she had on, her lavender kunoichi heels, which she had what looked like they were attached to her shin guards. I thank you for lending me some of your shinobi to help me find Zabuza-sensei. I feel with them here I can capture him while they protect their client who I bumped into on the way here. The girl said while looking at the new arrivals. Her eyes were immediately on Naruto as she grew a flirtatious smirk on her face. Oh, I wonder who he is. His hair is beautiful, it reminds me of fire, and they make his blue eyes shine so much brighter. Plus those whiskers look so adorable on him, giving him an exotic look. I wonder if he's single. Mei thought as she licked her lips like a predator stalking its prey. I thank you too, Mizukage Dono. The rest of the teams should be arriving any time now, but I'd like to introduce you to Team 4. Fusaki Ryo is a skilled in Kenjutsu and a Jounin. His students consists of Shira and Kaira Kanto and Naruto Uzumaki. Hiruzen finished while looking at her. He had to admit that Mei was extremely attractive. She looked divine. If only he was younger, he would flirted with her. Ryo was in the same boat. The Mizukage was extremely attractive. The top of her cleavage was being exposed. She had the look of a serious kunoichi, the curves in all the right places and her powerful thighs. Her hergless figure was something that most girls would kill for. She had a beautiful feminine look on her face, but knew she was dangerous. He watched as his two female students bowed to her and paled when Naruto looked bored and was instead sharpening his katana. Mei looked at them and noticed the Genin's teacher was checking her out. She saw the way his two females were baking and showing her the respect she deserved, but the fiery-haired one just popping into her mind. She walked up to him and noticed him sharpening his katana while not noticing 3 more teams walking in. Can I pet your whiskers? She asked him while all the Genin looked at her wondering who she was talking to and why she was talking to him. Hey, who is he, Shika? Ino asked in confusion. Troublesome, I think that's Naruto if I remember correctly. He replied, not knowing if he was right. Why the hell is that babe talking to a loser like him? Kiba whispered angrily. She should be flirting with him and asking if she could pet Akamaru. HMPH, she better not be trying to steal Sasuke-kun from me or else it'll make her regret it. Sakura said, trying to sound threatening. HN. Sasuke said while looking at the Mizukage with a small blush on his face. Naruto looked up at her and blinked and blinked once more before tilting his head to the left side a bit, making her mentally squeal like a fangirl. He didn't know why she wanted to touch his whiskers and blushed slightly. How could he tell her no, since they were a very intimate part of him, and if she touched them she'd find out his dark secret. You yo you, I may mean I-wy. Naruto managed to stutter out, while Mei visualized a chibi version of herself was wearing a wedding dress, and a chibi version of Naruto was wearing a suit where she kissed him and got married. Oh, is something the matter, Uzumaki-kun? She asked while whispering his name in his ear, making his face go bright red in embarrassment before he squeaked out a no, making Mei giggle. Oh, she loved a challenge, and she was going to pet those whisker marks one way or another. Well, see about that, Naruto. She giggled again, making him blush bright red. Lucky bastard. Were the thoughts of the older males in the room. Hiruzen cleared out his throat as he was able to gain their attention as Mei stood behind Naruto with a predatory smile on her face. Mizukage Dono, let me introduce you to the teams that will be helping you find your sensei. They will also be helping the client that asked for this mission as well. Hiruzen said while making her nod as she plucked a hair out of Naruto's head as she examined it. So the red and yellow is natural, interesting. She smiles while Naruto raised an eyebrow at her. Don't worry, Naruto, I'm trying to get to know my personal escort a bit better. She said with a sultry smile. Mizukage Dono, wouldn't you prefer a Jounin instead of a Genin to be your personal guard while tracking down your sensei? Asuma asked her, making her shake her head. No, I'd rather have Naruto be my personal guard, besides it'd be fun to get to know him more since I want to pet his whiskers. She said while giving Asuma a deathly smile, making him instantly shut up. Asuma gulped, quick nodding his head. Forgive me, Mizukage-sama, he said, bowing slightly. Kurenai looked over to Asuma and shook her head. So Uzumaki-kun, why can't I touch whiskers yet? Mei asked while standing close to him as she pouted from being denied to touch such an adorable whisker marks. Everyone was looking at them shocked. Why was the Mizukage hitting on him for? What did she see in him? Why did she find him attractive for? Ino looked at Naruto and was getting annoyed. Why was this girl trying to hit on him for? Couldn't she see that he wasn't anything special? Excuse me, Mei, but Ino never got to her question as she felt a good amount of kai being directed towards her. It's Mizukage-sama, please remember to address me as such. Mei replied in a too sweet of a voice. Ino could only nod in fear as she watched the Mizukage bring her attention back to Naruto. Fine, if I let you pet my whiskers once, will you stop asking? Naruto asked in a defeated voice. He couldn't keep it up anymore. She won and Head was going to let her touch his whiskers and maybe she'd get bored and go bother someone else. You do know him still here, right? Tazuna asked while sweat dropping, making Mei's eyebrow twitch from being interrupted. Asuma couldn't help but shake his head. They should been gone by now, and yet here they are waiting for Kakashi like always. Should we stop her from trying to bother Naruto? Kurenai asked both Asuma and Ryo. She didn't know why, but she felt uncomfortable while watching the Mizukage hitting on Naruto. Maybe we should pull him away from her so she doesn't try anything. She said, hoping they'd agree. Shesakage, do you really want to tell Akage what she can or can't do, Kurenai? I mean, if she wants to pet Naruto's whiskers, then let her pet his whiskers. It's not hurting anyone besides Yao. I've seen the way he acts. None of students are even trying to talk to him, they're just avoiding him like the plague. Asuma replied while putting a cigarette in his mouth and lighting it. Should we try doing a team building exercise on this mission? Kurenai asked while sending a small glare towards Asuma. They watched as Kakashi arrived with a lame excuse about some lady and a cat. Alright, it looks like everyone is finally here and we can finally head out. Teammate, I want you three in the back, since you have two trackers on your two Kurenai, they'll be more support. Team 7 Ya'll be in the front since you are more of an assault. Team 10 Ya'll be on the left side, and finally my team will be on the right side. Ryo said while looking them over as they nodded. Mizukage Dono, you can choose whoever Ya'd like to travel with. Ryo added while they got into position. Well Naruto, it looks like he'll be keeping you company. Mei said while she rubbed his whiskers with her thumb, making him purr as she smirked. Oh my. She giggled and held him close to her while licking her lips. Hiruzen has made his way towards the academy and wanted to talk to Iruka about Naruto. He had hoped the young Chunin would be able to see that Naruto was like him, just wanting some form of attention. He had chosen Iruka as he had hoped that he and Naruto would bonded like brothers of some sort. Making his way into the academy, Hiruzen found Iruka's classroom and walked in. He saw the scared Chunin was grading papers and looked up in surprise when he heard his door open. Ho Kage-sama, what can I do for you? Iruka asked in surprise. Iruka, I want you to tell me about Naruto-kun. Last time on Lava and Ice, Hiruzen has made his way towards the academy and wanted to talk to Iruka about Naruto. He had hoped the young Chunin would be able to see that Naruto was like him, just wanting some form of attention. He had chosen Iruka as he had hoped that he and Naruto would bonded like brothers of some sort. Making his way into the academy, Hiruzen found Iruka's classroom and walked in. He saw the scared Chunin was grading papers and looked up in surprise when he heard his door open. Ho Kage-sama, what can I do for you? Iruka asked in surprise. Iruka, I want you to tell me about Naruto-kun. Kurenai, you need to stop staring at them, nothing we can do will change his outlook on us. Asuma whispered to the red-eyed beauty. He knew she felt guilty for never helping the fiery-haired genin. His father had all but forgotten about Naruto and was trying to worm his way back into his life. Asuma, you don't understand, we've all seen the way he's been treated, yet none of us ever lifted a finger to help him. I remember seeing him sitting in the swings all alone, just wanting someone to hold him and tell him everything will be alright. Kurenai whispered back while looking at Naruto with guilty eye for never helping him. She saw the way Mei was talking to Naruto and felt guilty about it. Why couldn't he see that some people actually wanted to get to know him? She let out a sad sigh and walked ahead, thinking of a way to talk to him. She glanced over at Naruto and saw Mei was talking to him, trying to make laugh. She noticed a subtle movement in the corner of his mouth and let out a sigh. Why is she being so chummy with him for? Doesn't she know that he isn't from a clan or anything like that? Ino asked Shikamaru, trying to get answers as to why the Mizukage was only talking Naruto for. Ino, it's too troublesome to deal with it, just drop it already. Shikamaru yawned out, getting tired of hearing her complain about it. Lunch has right much, Ino. Choji said while eating a bag of chips. Ugh, you two don't understand, being friends with a cage would be good for my reputation, and maybe it could get Sasu-kun to notice me. Besides, I mean she's a cage and is only 3 years older than us, so she must be strong, right? She whined while looking at both Naruto and Mei. Sasu-kun, do you want to go on a date while okay the mission? Sakura asked while looking at her crush, hoping he'd say yes. No. How about when we come back from the mission? She asked, hoping he'd say yes. No. Boo. She watched as Sasuke walked away from her, not knowing why. Why can't she see that I'm an alpha and not that loser? Kiba grumbled in annoyance. What makes you think you're an alpha? Yakumo asked him with a questioning glance. Why did she have to be stuck next to him? I mean, Hess a nobody, Hess not from a clan unlike us, and yet she's only talking to him, how is that fair? He growled out in annoyance. What she wants to do with him doesn't matter, we're all clan heirs here besides Naruto and Sakura. Who cares, so quit acting like you're an alpha when we know nothing about him. Hinata barked out in annoyance, she hated the fact that Kiba was bitching and moaning. We should all calm down and focus on the mission at hand. Shino said while pushing his glasses up and looked over at both Naruto and Mei. So Naruto, tell me about yourself. Mei asked while walking beside the fiery-haired genin, wanting to know what made him who he was. She noticed that he was quiet and kept his distance from everyone, and that made her curious as to why. Not much to tell, I'm an orphan and that's pretty much it. Naruto said while looking up at the sky. He was bored. They've been walking for about 20 minutes and yet he was already bored. Oh come on, tell me more about yourself, like your favorite foods or something, my adorable blonde. She giggled out while walking closer to him. Naruto looked at her out of the corner of his eyes trying to figure her out. Why was she so interested in him for? He wasn't anything special. He was an orphan who grew up hated and alone, had never be anything special in life. He noticed a small puddle on the ground and couldn't help but mentally smirk, finally something to distract him. What would you like to know, Hokage-sama? Iruka asked, not knowing what to say or do since he purposely ignored him. Everything. I want to know who he spent time with, who his friends were. Hiruzen replied with a voice that sounded a bit threatening. We will you see I never talked to Naruto, everyone here ignored him like he never existed. Iruka finished before the Hokage grabbed him by his vest and slammed him up against the chalkboard, causing some cracks to appear. Repeat yourself now. Hiruzen threatened while holding the Chunin up by his vest. His Kai was on full blast, scaring the scarred Chunin. We igno ignored HM, I died, didn't I think knew much of HM, we owls also told the students thought that we'd fail them if they spoke to him. Iruka replied with fear in his voice. Do you have any idea what you've done? Hiruzen yelled out while exploding a large amount of Kai that was felt throughout the entire academy before he threw the scarred Chunin towards the desks. The sounds of a body crashing could be heard through the closed door as the rest of the academy teachers were scared to open the door. That boy has no bonds because of your fucking hatred. You didn't even think to just talk to him and get to know him. Hess, a child with no bonds holding him in the village, he could just up and leave if he wanted to because of your hatred. The Hokage yelled out before walking up to Iruka and grabbing him by the neck. You better pray to Kami that he stays loyal to the village. The moment he decides to defect, I'm going to kill you myself. Hiruzen replied before slamming his back up against the wall, leaving a decent-sized dent. As he walked out of the classroom, some of the teachers poked their heads in and saw Iruka on the floor, along with a destroyed classroom. The sound of screaming and metal hitting metal could be heard on the dirt road. Naruto looked up at one of the demon brothers and smirked. You okay, old man? Naruto asked while pushing one of them back with his katana. Naruto looked at Ryujin with a glare and prepared to attack again. Haha, you're the first one to respond, so you're not bad, Brad, I'll give you that. Your friends are still scared and haven't been able to even grasp that one of their senseis have already been killed by my brother and I, Mezu said with a smirk while getting ready to attack. Let's get one thing straight, they're not my friends, we're nothing but acquaintances, and even then I use that term loosely. Naruto smirked before rushing forward with an upward slash. He watched as his katana grazed his chest as a bit of blood appeared on the tip of his katana. You're good, Brad, you're quite ski. His eyes went wide as a coldness ran through his neck. His eyes looked over and saw a kunai made of pure ice before the clone pushed it further in. Next time don't underestimate your opponent. The clone whispered in his ear with a smirk. Ice release, but how? Mei thought to herself while looking at Naruto with shock in her eyes. This could be my chance to talk to him now. Kurenai thought to herself. She had just caught her opponent in a genjutsu and killed him and watched as Naruto killed someone. Maybe he'd need someone to talk to him about his first kill. Kurenai started walking towards him in an attempt to talk to him in order to let him cope with his first kill. As soon as she was close to him, she watched as Mei grabbed Naruto by his shoulders and turned him around. How do you have ice release? She asked with shock in her voice. She needed to know maybe she could convince him to come to Kiri with her. I don't know, but 6 years ago it manifested within myself along with another bloodline. Naruto told her while gently removing her hands from his shoulders and walked over to Mezu and grabbing his gauntlets and sealing them away in a scroll. Wow, what are you doing, Baka? Sakura yelled. She was scared. She just saw someone killing another person and had no idea what to do. I'm collecting his bounty because unlike all of you I don't have mommy and daddy paying for everything. Naruto replied with a sarcastic tone while rolling his eyes. You know, Naruto-kun, if you want we can talk more about your bloodline and how to cope with your first kill if you want. Mei asked him while gently taking his hands into hers with a gentle smile. I missed my chance. Kurenai thought with a sad look on her face. She needed to let Naruto know that they were here for her. This isn't my first kill. Naruto said with a blank face as he pulled his hands away from hers and walked up to Tazuna. Have to admit it was kinda funny seeing you scared. Naruto said with an amused smile on his face before looking at the others with a blank face. Kurenai looked at Naruto and couldn't help but feel like she failed him. She desperately wanted to him how sorry she was. She felt like a failure for always saying how she wanted to help him. She remembered seeing him after his first kill and seeing those cold eyes. Flashback, Nai-chan, I'm bored. Anko pouted while looking at the books in the store. Kurenai couldn't help but smile. She had drugged her 3 friends to the library so she could find more information about creating her own genjutsu. Do you have to complain, Anko? Yugao asked with an amused smile on her face while holding a book on kinjutsu. Yeah, Anko, calm down. Last time you dragged us to a strip club and it was slightly uncomfortable. Hana giggled, making Anko blush. Before Anko could respond to any of them, they heard a commotion in a small alley and ran outside, dropping their books. When they arrived, they couldn't help but looked shocked. Standing in the middle of the alley covered in blood stood 8-year-old Naruto. They couldn't help but look at him as blood dripped from a kunai in his hands. The bodies of civilians and a few shinobi laid at his feet, some were Chunin, and some looked like genin. He looked at them with cold dead eyes as he slowly walked towards them and watched as he dropped the kunai. Words couldn't be said. They knew what happened. He was attacked and he finally had enough. Flashback end. Remember, my beloved, you only need me in your life. No one else can help you like I can. The voice said in Naruto's head as he felt a pair of arms wrap around his back. And here, I thought you got rid of her. Are you still staying attached to her web of lies, Naruto? Kurama asked. She was the only one who I ever trusted. Even if she did what she did, she told me about you and was honest with me unlike everybody else. Naruto replied. Be careful, kid, we both know that she was extremely manipulative. She almost had you killed because she wanted someone dead, so promise me that you'll be careful. He said. I promise. Naruto said. Are you alright, Naruto-kun? Mei asked while bribing him out of his stupor. He looked at her and she caught a quick glance at his eyes. She noticed that they were full of loneliness, uncertainty, but most of all she noticed that he was lost. Yay. He replied with a quiet voice as he stood next to her. He didn't know why, but he felt like a storm was brewing and he was in the middle of it all. I don't know what's going on with you, Naruto, but I promise to make sure that I'm by your side through all of it. Mei thought to herself while looking at the flamed-haired teen. Last time on Lava and Ice. Remember, my beloved, you only need me in your life. No one else can help you like I can. The voice said in Naruto's head as he felt a pair of arms wrap around his back. And here, I thought you got rid of her. Are you still staying attached to her web of lies, Naruto? Kurama asked. She was the only one who I ever trusted. Even if she did what she did, she told me about you and was honest with me unlike everybody else. Naruto replied. Be careful, kid, we both know that she was extremely manipulative. She almost had you killed because she wanted someone dead, so promise me that you'll be careful. He said. I promise. Naruto said. Hey, are you alright, Naruto-kun? Mei asked while bribing him out of his stupor. He looked at her and she caught a quick glance at his eyes. She noticed that they were full of loneliness, uncertainty, but most of all she noticed that he was lost. Yay. He replied with a quiet voice as he stood next to her. He didn't know why, but he felt like a storm was brewing and he was in the middle of it all. I don't know what's going on with you, Naruto, but I promise to make sure that I'm by your side through all of it. Mei thought to herself while looking at the flamed-haired teen. Naruto was laying down on the roof of the client's house while watching the stars. It was one of the few things that he truly loved. Seeing the stars so high above, shining bright but yet so far away. It always made him wonder just how small the world truly was. Every time he set his gaze on the stars he felt at peace, like everything was being washed away. It was one of the few hobbies that he had and truly enjoyed. So this is where you ran off to? Came the alluring voice that he immediately recognized. He turned his head slightly to the left and saw Mei smiling warmly at him. May I join you, Naruto-kun? She asked him. She had been looking for him for about 10 minutes and finally found him on the roof. He nodded before turning his head back to the stars as he silently named the constellations that she had taught him. It was one of the few memories that he held close to his heart, one where she treated him like a person and not a tool. Mei looked over at Naruto and watched him. She noticed that he kept to himself, and when he was asked a question he always gave a quick answer. During the time on the road she noticed that he wasn't close to any of his teammates. She did notice Kurenai trying to work up the courage to talk to him, but she always seemed to lose it when would look at him. Is there something you need, Mei? Oh no? Naruto asked while looking at her out of the corner of his eye. No, I just wanted to get away and catch some peace and quiet. Your friends are interesting. The blonde one keeps trying to do my hair and it's quite vexing. She replied before laying down as she turned her head to the right to look at him. Naruto mentally scoffed at the word friends. They weren't his friends and never would be. They were spoiled clan heirs who thought they were powerful because of their clan names. None of them truly understood what struggling was, not even Sasuke. None of them never had to dive through dumpsters for food or even eat rats to survive. They never once had to sleep outside in the rain or snow. No, none of them knew the true meaning of struggle. You seem like you are lost in thought, Naruto-kun. Would you like to talk about it? Mei asked him as she sat up and brought her knees to her chest. A gentle but cold breeze flew past them as she shivered slightly before rubbing her arms as she tried to warm herself up. Here. She turned her head to the right and saw Naruto holding up a black jacket. Thank you. She mumbled quietly before sliding her arms into the jacket and slowly zipped it up. Naruto slowly brought his hands up to the ram hand seal and whispered out Kai. May immediately noticed the jacket getting warmer and barely saw the seals fading away. To say she was shocked was an understatement, these level of seals were far beyond anything a genin should been able to perform. You know Fuinjutsu? It was more of a statement than a question. Yay, it's something that I picked up when I was younger and got hooked on it. The only limitation is the user's imagination. Plus not many people use Genjutsu anymore. Naruto replied. They are quite intriguing Naruto-kun, not many people your age are interested in seals. Most of them are into ninjutsu thinking that they can become powerful since they know one strong jutsu. She replied. She looked at him with interest and pulled the hood over her head before laying down. Were you disappointed when Zabuza refused your offer? Naruto asked. She stayed silent and mulled over the question, it was an innocent question, but one that had many answers. On one hand she cold easily killed Zabuza with her boil release for refusing her offer. Killing him wouldn't do her any good, she knew that her ex-sensei was powerful. He was considered the second strongest swordsman out of all 7 of them. On the other hand she couldn't bring herself to kill him, he was there for her when her parents died and raised her as if she were his own flesh and blood. She was conflicted she had her duties as a cage to kill a traitor or to spare him for being the father figure in her life. I don't know, I have my duties as Mizukage and the council wants me to kill him. But he was my sensei and raised me when my parents died, what would you do in my situation Naruto-kun? She asked hoping he could provide her some fresh insight. You really love your sensei don't you? He asked her. She nodded her head in response as he slowly let out a sigh. You have to remember that you are the Mizukage and that your word is the law, if you decide to spare Zabuza's life, then everyone in the village has to deal with it. Naruto paused while looking at Mei. She wanted help and he was going to provide it, he didn't know why he was helping her, but he was. Tell the council along with anyone else who disagrees with you. If they don't like your choice then they can turn in their hit I-8 and retire. He finished before giving her a small smile. She stayed silent while mulling over what Naruto had just told her, it was true that her word was law. The more she thought about it the more she realized that they needed him to help strengthen the village. Enough about me Naruto-kun, I want to know more about you. She said hoping to change the topic. Naruto turned his head to the left again while giving her a look that said no. Come on Naruto-kun you know more about me than I do about you, how about you just tell me your hobbies? Would that be satisfactory? She asked. Cooking, reading, training and watching the stars. He replied before placing his hands behind his head and laying back down. She couldn't help but giggle at his quick response, it felt rehearsed, but for some reason she found it quite cute when it came from him. I've been wondering Naruto-kun why don't you any of your teammates ever get along? I mean Konoha always preaches about teamwork, but I've noticed that you are not close to any of them, you like to keep your distance from all of them, why is that? Naruto slowly turned and looked at her. He stayed quiet for a few seconds before opening his mouth to speak. Have you ever tried making friends? I mean I tried with them, I've stood up for some of them when they were getting bullied, or even gave them my food when they forgot theirs, even when I had little myself. Naruto looked at her. I know this may sound childish and stupid, but I tried everything I could to make friends with them, but yet they always acted like they never knew me or they'd break into my apartment and trash what little I had. He replied with a small sigh, he knew he shouldn't be acting like this, but he accepted the fact that he'd never have friends or love. You should get some sleep Meidono, you have a long week ahead with having to find your sensei and all. Naruto said before hopping off the roof and walking into the forest. Flashback. As Naruto walked away from another dead body in the forest he looked up and saw her, she smiled at him and gently kissed his forehead. You did good Naruto-kun, you've made me very proud to call you my future husband. She said with a fake warm smile on her face. Naruto beamed with happiness that he was finally getting praised for doing something right, he was finally being accepted by someone, even if it was by one new person he just met 2 months ago. Do you want me to do anything else for you Lucy-chan? He asked with blood still covering his face and body. No Naruto-kun, you've done enough for today. He'll be gone for a bit, but remember what I've taught you and who to stay away from since we want to surprise him. She smirked sadistically. Hi, I have to stay away from the Hokage and your grandfather. You want to surprise him to show him that you're ready to take over his program. Naruto beamed with a megawatt grin. Yes Naruto-kun, and once my grandfather gives me his program then we can finally get married and run it together as husband and wife. She smirked. She couldn't wait to see the look on her grandfather's face when he found out that she manipulated the demon brat for her own selfish goals. Soon old man, your life is limited and when I get the chance I'll end your pathetic life. Everything that you've worked for will be mine and the Kikbi brat will forever be under my control. She thought to herself as she walked away to complete her mission. Remember Naruto-kun, you're the light that shines on the trees and I'm the root that holds them up together. Flashback end. Hey, wake up, y'all catch a cold. A soft angelic voice spoke as she gently shook a prone boy awake. She looked him over. His bright blonde hair was extremely exotic, the way his nose twitched made her smile warmly gently, especially when she had touched his whisker marks. But what captivated her the most were those cerulean blue eyes, bluer than any sapphire and bluer than the ocean. They held such warmth and loneliness that her heart skipped a beat. His eyes are like mine. She thought to herself. Tenshi. Naruto whispered out while looking up at the beautiful girl's face. Somewhere in the back of his mind he desperately wanted her to be an angle to take him away from all of this pain and suffering, a desperate escape from this cruel dark world. I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm not an angel. She giggled, her giggle was like melody to his ears, so perfect. She smiled warmly at him and couldn't help but blush at his comment. She was called an angel for the first time in her life. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to embarrass you. What's your name? Naruto asked, hoping to find out this girl's name. I'm Haku, and you are? She asked while looking at the blonde shinobi. I'm Naruto. He replied as he finally noticed the basket next to her. She noticed his eyes focusing on her basket and gave a small smile. My friend came down with a flu. We didn't have enough money to buy the proper medicine, so I'm out here picking her some herbs in hopes to help her feel better. That's quite noble of you, Haku-san. I hope your friend gets better. If you like, I'd like to help you pick out some herbs. I grow some myself as well as some poisonous ones. He replied before giving her a warm smile. I'd appreciate that, Naruto-san. You're doing my friend and I a favor. Last I'm on lava and ice. I'm Haku, and you are? She asked while looking at the blonde shinobi. I'm Naruto. He replied as he finally noticed the basket next to her. She noticed his eyes focusing on her basket and gave a small smile. My friend came down with a flu. We didn't have enough money to buy the proper medicine, so I'm out here picking her some herbs in hopes to help her feel better. That's quite noble of you, Haku-san. I hope your friend gets better. If you like, I'd like to help you pick out some herbs. I grow some myself as well as some poisonous ones. He replied before giving her a warm smile. I'd appreciate that, Naruto-san. You're doing my friend and I a favor. Red was all he saw as his eyes roamed his apartment that he used as a cover. He gripped his kunai in his left hand while holding his katana in a reverse grip in his right hand. Who the fuck are you? He growled as he looked at the woman in front of him. The only single distinguishing garment he could make out on them was a short black midriff jacket with red straps over their shoulders, along with a tip-less tent scattered around the apartment. The woman didn't say anything. She looked at him with blank cold dead eyes that were barely visible through her mask. She looked down at herself and knew she was dead. The kid had cut her leg off, and the deep gash across her chest shed bleed out in a matter of seconds. Who are you? He shouted again. Wake up. The woman spoke. Naruto jolted up in his sleep in cold sweat as he looked around the room and let out a quivering sigh. He looked down at his hands and noticed a slight shaking in them. What's going on with me? Why am I remembering these now? Naruto thought to himself. He turned his head towards the window to his right and he could hear faint sounds of yelling and figured the teams were training. Yes, I should go see what they're doing. He muttered to himself before standing up and getting dressed. After getting dressed, Naruto made his way towards the forest, following the sounds of Sakura and Ino shouting. As he made it to a clearing, he saw a body drop as it landed in front of him. Have a nice fall. Or did you get distracted and trip over your own feet? He asked Shikamaru as he listened to the boy grumble troublesome under his breath. You're late. He replied while looking up at him from the ground. He knew he should vandalized everyone a bit longer before making his attempt to run up a tree, but he had gotten further than the rest of the males. I made it up first, forehead. Shut up, Ino pig, I made it up first. The two girls shouted at each other from the branches that they were sitting on. Hinata, Shira and Kyra looked at the two girls and shook their heads in disappointment. Sakura and Ino were a disappointment in what Kunoichis truly represented. They'd be the reasons why their teams would probably die on this mission or any other missions in the near future. The reason you girls were able to make it up quicker than the rest is because your chakra reserves are smaller than the rest. Kurenai spoke out as she looked at the young Kunoichis. Naruto, I was wondering when you'd join us. A man chuckled as he lit a cigarette while taking a drag out of it before releasing the smoke out of the corner of his mouth. I apologize for being late, Asuma-sensei. Naruto spoke as he looked up at Sasuke, who was glaring at him. Is it necessary for me to learn the tree walking exercise? I know how to do it and have mastered it to the point where I can fight someone for an hour and a half. I also learned and mastered the water walking exercise as well. Naruto spoke out again as he looked at both Kurenai and Asuma. I don't see why you should learn it. He spoke as he finished his cigarette. It'll be training if you need me. Naruto spoke as he walked away. In town, Naruto was walking through the worn-down roads of Nami no Kuni, getting groceries for Tsunami to make dinner. Heb had offered when Tsunami had twisted her ankle earlier in the day after slipping in the kitchen when he had accidentally scared her from returning from his training. As he was about to head back, he heard the sound of a muffled screaming and immediately went to investigate. What he found was a group of thuggish men taking a girl around his age into a worn-down building. Seeing that scene, rage burned in his eyes. Making his way stealthily inside, he overheard them speak. And the more they spoke, the more his rage built up. "So you guys found a fresh one?" A tall and brutish-looking man said, admiring the new piece of merchandise that was brought in. Sure, boss. Gad'll pay quite the price for this one I bet, probably been hiding all this time, but we saw her walking alone a few minutes ago." A tall and skinny-looking man sneered, his eyes trailing the body of their new catch. "Hey boss, why don't we check if she's fresh? After all, don't want to give Gato something used, right?" A short and fat man said, wiping the drool off his lips. "Fine, but just don't break her." The British man said, walking into the back of the building as the other men started to approach the bound girl. "Why are you bothering yourself with such trash that cold to even defend herself, my beloved?" A voice spoke as he felt a pair of arms wrap themselves around his neck. "No one deserves this kind of fate." Naruto muttered to himself as he pulled out a few kunes and readied himself to throw them. "Just leave her to her demise, she's weak and this is her punishment for being so pathetic." The voice replied in a sultry tone with a hint of anger. "Shut up and leave me the fuck alone." He roared in anger before throwing the kunes, impaling the tall skinny man in the eye, killing him in an instant. "Wow, what the hell?" The short fat man shouted as he looked around before seeing a red and yellow flash appear in front of him. In an instant blood splattered the wall, covering the last thug and the girl as she looked okay in horror. The sounds of her screams pulled the last thug out of his shocked stupor as he looked at the young boy in front of him before snarling and grabbing the girl hostage and pulled out a rusty knife and holding it up against her throat. Don't you dare move." The man shouted as he pushed the knife harder against her throat as he looked at him in fear. "Do you know who I am? The man I work for will make sure you suffer before killing you, you damn brat." He shouted again. "Do you trust me?" Naruto asked the girl. I don't even know you. How do I know you are not on their side either?" She shouted out in fear. She had the right to be scared, a boy her age just killed 2 men without so much as flinching. "You had your chance." Naruto spoke as I hooked at the man with calculating eyes. "Now you're going ack." The sound of metal piercing flesh crouched through the worn-down building as Naruto's sword had pierced through the man's skull, killing him in an instant. "Be more careful." He spoke as he turned away and grabbed the groceries before heading back to Tezuna's house. Thanks for watching.